Yeah, I should win just because you had the Timberwolves in the 8th seed.
Vasilevsky's been playing really well, and the Lightning have a great offense.
Yeah, it was a tremendous shot, and I've come to expect it from LeBron, who's become one of the clutchest players in NBA history as of recently.
So I have him going off one night, but I think he's just going to get tired. So that's why the Nets winning in 5.
I would say I wish the best for the Red Sox, but as a Yankees fan, that's really hard for me to do.
The biggest addition to me is Jalen Brunson.
Both teams that beat the Rangers are rebuilding faster than the Rangers.
Why'd you have to name them? Like, seriously. Thanks, man. To me, those top 2 starters are Lucas Gaelito and Lance Flynn.
Kaprizov and the rest of this crew. Jordan Greenway, who doesn't get enough props. He definitely is somebody who needs to be mentioned more. I definitely think it's going to be a great series, and I'm interested to see how much Kaprizov can impact the game as a rookie.
How is Joe Burrow going to get the ball to them if his butt is already on the ground when he finally decides who to throw to?
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and that's all I have to say. He's still a top 5 quarterback in this league, and there's nothing really anyone can do about it.
All I could think of was Dame.
I don't think they will. If they don't have Anthony Davis, I'm saying it right now, if Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
And then I want to talk about the Fernando Tatis extension, because that really surprised me. Because he's so young.
The Hurricanes just have too much. They're probably the most complete team this year, and I anticipate them winning.
You know what this means, Bengals. Take the nice one. Do not let what happened to Andrew Luck happen to Joe Burrow.
Clippers versus the Nets. Who would have thought 5 years ago that the Clippers and Nets would be facing in the finals?
But I have the Sixers versus Jazz.
Crazy. And for the fans at home, for the listeners at home.
Hello, I'm Cy Mendenhall, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our 62nd episode. Make sure to check out our 61st episode, which was doing our NBA way too early predictions review, where I won by the 1 point and first point ever. But I did have the Timberwolves in the 8th seed. It would have been great if I had the Grizzlies in the 8th seed, but I did not have that. So make sure to check that out. Then we are doing our NHL first round review and second round preview, because how the NHL structured it, game 7, now we're reviewing that, but now there's like already 3 games going on for some teams they're playing their 3rd game tonight, so a little difficult there. So we're just going to talk about the series. And an updated scoring is I have 8 points from the first round and Austin has 5 points. Make sure to check out our predictions, because even if we're going to do predictions for our second round, which we aren't here, all the predictions are in that video, and that's how the scoring is being used. And we'll update you for the scoring when we do another episode. We've made some changes, but they have to be in use. You want to know the full scoring, how it's going to work, make sure to check out that episode. But now let's get to it. And Austin, let's start with the first series that we definitely did not have this team. I did not believe in this team as I had them getting swept, but they actually were the ones doing the sweep. That's great on them. And it's their first ever sweep in Jets history. And that, of course, is the Winnipeg Jets versus the Edmonton Oilers. What are your thoughts on this series?
Yeah, it was definitely a surprise, more to your prediction than mine. I had Oilers in 6. I was at least giving their respect to the Winnipeg Jets to saying that they were going to at least win multiple games, unlike your prediction of them getting destroyed. However, every game was close in the series. 3 games went to extra time, and 1 game was a 4-1 lead with 4-1 win with 2 empty net goals. So every game was basically a 1-goal game. They just came out where the Jets were on top every time. It was dominant, but it wasn't too dominant. Connor Hellebuck really helped his team set the tone, and there were many game winners. Paul Stastny, I believe, had one. Kyle Connor had one. And Nate Ehlers had the other one, or was it Andrew Cobb? I can't really remember, but there was a lot of game winners. There's too many to remember. But they move on to face the Canadians, and we'll get to that series soon.
Yeah, and you talked about them going in overtime. The series clinching game went into triple overtime. So that, because it went into like it was 2 games basically in the series clinching that game. It really shows just how the Jets were able to keep up and had a more depth than the Edmonton Oilers, as they were playing McDavid a lot, and so he couldn't get as quality scoring chances if he was on full rest. Any other thoughts before we move on to the next series?
Not really. I mean, you hit it right on the head. They were overplaying their stars, Draisaitl and McDavid, and they also played a lot of minutes to Darnell Nurse and Tyson Berry, two of their best defensemen, and they got worn out. And at the end, Connor sent Winnipeg to the second round.
Yeah, and now we go to the other sweep where we both predict the Avalanche to win. It was just how shocking they won all the 4 games in a row, as they only scored the least amount of goals scored were 4. They were around 5, and I think they even got to 6. And that, of course, is Avalanche versus St. Louis, and the McKinnon line, McKinnon, Landeskog, and Rantanen. They were just on fire and have gotten off to a great start this playoff series. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that was probably the most dominant sweep I've seen in a very long time in hockey. Hockey is a lot of parity, especially in the NHL. And you normally don't see a sweep as commanding as this one. It made it seem like the Blues were the 4 seed as they were, and that they shouldn't have even been in the playoffs. Uh, this is really where it comes into questioning like how the uh, playoffs were set up, how 4 teams had to make it out of every division. And the Blues just did not look prepared. I know they had injuries and had guys out with COVID, but I mean, I think Perron was out with COVID for the entirety of the playoffs, but that's not an excuse to just throw in the towel and play so bad against a team that they knew was going to come out firing. And McKinnon, Rantanen, and Landeskog could just turn it up into a whole nother gear for these playoffs, and they're definitely going to be a scary sight in the coming rounds.
Yeah, they're very determined this year to go all the way. Now I think we can move on to an upset: Islanders versus the Penguins. This one isn't as surprising because they came from the best division this year, the Eastern Division. But we both had the Penguins. Kyle Palmieri for the Islanders was doing damage, and that he was a trade acquisition this year, and that's what you want from a trade acquisition for the Islanders. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Tristan Jarry just had one of the worst playoff performances since 2014. He had a negative 8 goals expected ratio, which means that he allowed 8 more goals than it was expected based on the shot opportunities that he was given. And he really cost, I believe, the Penguins, especially in that game where he passed the puck directly into a guy's stick and then he ended up scoring. I don't know if that was Josh Bailey or if that was somebody else, but he did just pass the puck right to him, and then he ended up ending the game, and that really was what flipped the series onto the favor of the Islanders. And they ended up winning it the next game at home. We
Uh,
would.
s- Sorry, you can go.
I was going to say we don't know how much longer the Crosby and Malkin duo have, and this really throws a wrench in all of that.
That's a good point. I wanted to go to the opposite goalie, um, Sorokin. He was incredible for the Islanders, facing some tough shots, and this was his first playoff series, and he went 3-0. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it was impressive, especially for a rookie of his caliber. We've seen a lot of very young goaltenders so far in the playoffs step up, like Nedeljkovic for the Carolina Hurricanes, and they really impressed. I don't know if Sorokin still counts as a rookie this season. I'm searching it up right now uh, because I know that he was somebody that didn't get many games in last season if he did play last year. Well, I do think he did. Oh no, he didn't. Yeah. Okay, so he was a rookie. I know he's been in the league for a while, not in the NHL per se, but he was drafted in 2014. So he's been in the system for a while, and yeah, rookies normally step up, especially as goaltenders. We saw this recently with Jordan Binnington as he went on that run with the Blues, and then back in 2006 when the Carolina Hurricanes last won their Stanley Cup. Cam Ward stepped up and was outstanding. He had the best stretch of his career during the playoffs then, and rookie goaltenders seem to have a special persona about them that they can really get it done when it matters, and Sorokin's been like that throughout this entire playoff run.
Yeah, it's been great to see it and very nice story. Now I think we can move on to another upset that I know you are pretty happy about, and that's Bruins versus Capitals. And the Capitals, just talking about goalies because it's postseason, we got to talk about goalies. They really had problems. Vanacek got injured in game one. Then you have Anderson come in. Game one does well, but then he starts the second game, and then they go to Samsonov. And that's just really tough when you're cycling goalies. And Marchand starting heating up for the Bruins, which is a great thing to see. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and also Pastrnak has also played exceptional. The perfect line per se, as they say, has really come into its own so far, and they're looking to make a deep run. Rask has played exceptional, and I thought that they would win this series. However, not in 5 games. It was a dominant performance, and it's going to be a close series against the Islanders.
Yeah, it will be, and we'll get to that in a few more minutes. Now we got the Lightning versus the Panthers. Lightning getting some excellent reinforcements in Kucherov and Stamkos coming in to the playoffs. Kucherov, I believe, was out for the whole season, but coming into the playoffs, and that's just provided a spark for them. And then, of course, Vasilevsky has just been incredible. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Chris Dreiger and Bobrovsky really did not step up for the Panthers and allowed way too many goals. Spencer Knight came in and did get a win in Game 5 to push it to a Game 6, and it didn't play that well in Game 6. They played 3 goaltenders in 6 games, and they really could not find a consistent goaltender. I do believe that they have the offense and defense when they're healthy and can get back all their injured players. That they can make a strong push. However, they're going to need a goaltender or competent goaltending core to help them get through, especially in a division like the Central this year, which was very high scoring between the Hurricanes and Lightning. Uh, the top was very front loaded and they were scoring a ton of goals. And so you need a goaltender that can at least make sure that you can score more goals than the other team. And that really was not happening for the Panthers this season.
Yeah, and it's tough going against that offense from the Lightning, but I think we can move on to the Predator versus Hurricanes. Got pretty close there, but they were able to pull it off with the overtime winner in Game 6. And Sebastian Aho has been great for the Hurricanes, and Saros did well, but the Hurricanes just have a great offense. Any disagreements?
No, UC Saros played amazing, and so did Nedeljkovic. 4 games went into OT or double OT or triple OT or so many OTs, and it was a great series. It could have gone either way. Either team could have won. It just the puck bounced the Carolinas' way, which is good for my predictions as I have them winning the cup. And this really would have put a hindrance in that, and I probably definitely would have lost the battle against you. So I like how this turned out.
Yep, surviving for one more series. And now we go to Vegas versus Wild. Wild did incredible, coming back, winning a couple more games to force a Game 7. But in Game 7, the main thing was Pacioretty. He was injured the whole series, and in Game 7, he really provided that goal-scoring spark that the Knights had lacked in the previous losses to the Wild to force the Game 7. Any thoughts?
I mean, it was a great series, hard fought. We both differed a little bit. You had the Knights winning in 7. I had the Wild winning in 7, and just so happened that the Knights ended 1-7. Really cool series. Could have gone either way. Kaprizov really stepped up at the end of the series and got a couple goals. And I really think this Wild team is on the rise. They're getting younger, and their younger guys are starting to step up more. Talbot played much better than he did last year in the playoffs, even though he did have that great run at the beginning. But I'm excited to see how this turns out because the Wild in the future could be dirty. They have a lot of great players, and Kaprizov is only going to get better. They're trying to sign him to a long-term contract, and I don't blame them. But the Knights move on to face the Avalanche, where they are struggling currently.
Yeah, it's tough facing the Avalanche, even for the Golden Knights. And you talked about like in your predictions for the Hurricanes, you talking to me off the podcast, but Greenway and Erickson Ek, those were two guys you talked about how Greenway does not get enough credit, and he really stepped up and proved your prediction correct. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, Greenway played amazing. He's 6'6", 6'7", right wing. You don't expect him to get as many points as he does, but he's a great passer, and he definitely helped the Wild get as close as they did to a great team as the Knights. And Pacioretty really was the difference, as well as some boneheaded plays by the Wild defense at the end, but they had to push it to try to get goals, and that's just how it works sometimes.
Yeah, great exposure. And now we can go to the final one of the first round. And this one is definitely going to be talked about for a long time. And that, of course, is Montreal coming down from a 3-1 deficit to the Maple Leafs, who are 0-8 in game clinchers for series. And the Maple Leafs is not what you wanted. This is not what I wanted for the Maple Leafs. We both had them winning, but I had them going to the finals. So this was definitely not a good thing. And Matthews did not do well goal scoring. He did not live up to what you would expect for him with the price tag he has to do in this type of series, especially in Game 7. What are your thoughts on this series?
Yeah, your highest paid guy can't be the one that's fourth in scoring on your team. And I'm not talking about goals. I'm talking about assists plus goals. He had 5. Spezza, I think, also had 5. I know Kerfoot had 6 or 7. And Nylander played so well. He had 5 goals, 3 assists, I believe, 8 points in 7 games. I was incredibly impressed by his abilities during this series, and I'm sad to see how he played. But Marner only had 4 points, 1 goal, 3 assists, I believe, and then Matthews had 1 goal, 4 assists. I just couldn't get it together. Um, it's sad to see for the Maple Leafs as they continue this complete drought of not even winning a playoff series since 2004, especially for a big market like this. This normally doesn't happen. Small market teams, it has the capability of happening. We see this with the Sacramento Kings, the Bucks before they got Giannis. Um, we see these; they're not going to win a series ever again. Teams, and that's just because they're small market. But a big market team like Toronto, like we never see this with the Boston. We never see this with an LA based team. Like they may miss the playoffs for 4, 5, 6 seasons, but not for 17 years. That just doesn't happen with a team like that's in such a big market. Uh, I don't know what to say. Congrats to the young guys on and the old guys on the Montreal Canadiens. Playoff carry price really showed out. Corey Perry scored the game-winning goal in that game. A guy who was on the Stars last season and made a cup run. Uh, and yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say except the Maple Leafs have some real thinking to do during this offseason because I don't know what you change except for firing everybody and just restarting.
Yeah, it's very true about what you said. Maple Leafs have a tough offseason for him, but let's not. We're definitely Canadians deserve some credit. Carey Price was incredible in Game 6, um, as he was able to steal that away from the Maple Leafs. And then Corey Perry, you mentioned, instrumental in the Stars playoff run last year as he just brought some leadership and he's bringing it here and bringing some goal scoring for the Canadians as well. But now that concludes our first round review. But now we can move on to the second round preview. And let's start with the Bruins versus the Islanders, who both have a 1 win and will be squaring off in Game 3 tonight. And Marchand's starting to heat up. That's a line, and he has some veteran presence for the Bruins. And then Tuukka Rask has been incredible, but Kyle Palmieri still doing well. What are your thoughts on this series?
Yeah, I mean the goals that the Islanders scored to end up winning that game were kind of fluke goals, but that's sometimes how it works. The power plays goal that is it scored their first goal. The guy was trying to pass it across and it hit a Bruins guy in the foot and ended up going in. And then in overtime, the Bruins had a lot of possession. They end up passing it across and it hits their own guy in the skate, and the guy goes down and scores. Zizekas, I believe, scored. Um, it's something that happens, and that's just how the dice roll sometimes. But I see the Bruins winning this series, even though it is 1-1. As we're back at Nassau Coliseum tonight, and we'll have to see how it goes. But it was 1-1 against the Capitals, and the Bruins pulled it out. We'll have to see how it works here.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my prediction for the Bruins that I made in the predictions video. Pasternak, um, Marchand, Bergeron have just done well, and I believe in them. And the Islanders, I think, are just going to fall short because Sorokin is still very young, and I'm not going to. Rask is just going to be incredible. Now we can move on. Tampa Bay Lightning versus Carolina. Tampa Bay has come out on fire, really trying to defend that title that they won last year against the Stars. They're up 2-0, and they have not lost a 2-0 postseason. They have not lost when holding a 2-0 lead um, versus anyone in the playoffs, but it is a small sample size because they're relatively new. So often there's still hope for the Hurricanes.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to hold every bit of hope I have because I don't think I can get any more points if the Hurricanes are knocked out. Um, Jordan Staal's having a career year, and they're gonna need it here in this series. But they're out a couple guys like Vinny Trocheck, who I anticipated winning the Conn Smythe, and so injuries are really getting to him, and they're gonna need to heal up, get ready to head back to Tampa, and continue this hard series. They lost both of their games at their home stadium to start out, which is not how the home team's supposed to go about it. But like I said, there's a lot of parity in hockey, and I'm not going to be scared. I mean, the Mavs started to go into basketball, but the Mavs were up 2-0 on the Clippers home court, and then came back to Dallas and lost both of those games. So I'm hoping the Hurricanes can beat the same drum.
Yeah, maybe not bring the Mavs into yet. Hopefully they can clinch it. I don't want to jinx anything, but it was definitely a good one last night over in Staples Center. I like playing there. Paul George and Kawhi do not because they haven't won this playoffs in the playoff series yet there. But to bring it back to hockey, Tim Vasilevsky has done a great job because the first two games were 2-1. He definitely made some incredible saves that kept the pucks from going into the net. And so Carolina is just going to find some way to beat Vasilevsky, which is a tough thing. Everyone is looking forward to do this postseason. And now we move on to the Canadiens versus Jets. Carey Price has been incredible, and it's definitely going to be a very tough series as they have depth, and it's probably going to go into a couple of overtimes, even though I don't think we've seen that just yet. What are your opinion? What are your opinions?
Yeah, so I mean, I believe the Canadians are going to take this series. They took home ice advantage last game after winning 5-3, and I believe Shifley will get a multiple game suspension for his hit, and that's really going to take a toll on this Jets team. Um, and yeah, like I said, I anticipate the Canadians to move on. Uh, the Jets definitely had the firepower and the depth, but losing Shifley is definitely going to harm them. And if they can't if they can't right the ship quick, this may be a short series.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Canadians. Just because Carey Price, man, he's been incredible. Um, so that's why I think they'll win. Now to the Avalanche versus Vegas. Avalanche. It was much closer second game than the first game. That was just Vegas would definitely like to forget that, and it's we did not see Leonard in the second game, so they may still ride with Andre Fleury, which is a good thing, but you still want to give Fleury some rest. So I don't think that's a big thing to hate on the Vegas Knights for choosing that in game one. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. They need to give some rest to Fleury, and I agree with not pulling Leonard after they realized that hey, we're probably not going to win this game after it got like 5 or 6-1. But the suspension to Ryan Reeves that I believe is for 2 or 3 games, it's definitely going to take a toll. As we saw when he was out with COVID protocol against the Wild, he ended up losing that game. It kind of allowed the momentum to get back in the series for the Wild. And I wouldn't second guess that for this series too. And the Avalanche aren't down. Ryan Reeves helps set the tone. He's not a big goal scorer. He's not even that great of a defensive player, but he sets the tone. He punishes people for touching the puck, and that's what we need in the sport right now, especially when people get extra confident. I think that's going to help protect players against big hits. But I mean, he is getting suspended for a big hit, so I mean, he's creating his own job, I guess. But with his absence, I think it's a big hit against their physical abilities. And if the Knights lose the next game, the series is won by the Avalanche. There's no way they come back if they lose Game 3.
Yeah, the Avalanche are just so fast, and that, to your point, physicality could maybe slow them down, but not having Ryan Reeves really hurts in that physicality standpoint, and they just got to find a way to keep the pucks out of the net. But that's tough when you're facing McKinnon, Landeskog, and Rantanen. That line has just been incredible. And that concludes our second round preview. Any more last second thoughts, Austin?
No, I'm excited to see if the Hurricanes can pull it out. They're my last round out of the playoffs, and hopefully I can get it through with that team. It's the only one I have left that I've chosen.
Yeah, so that will definitely be a thing we keep an eye on. I will keep an eye on it as I try to make my own comeback in the all-time records. But we will see, and we will talk about that next time we do a second round predictions preview. But for our next episode, we will be reviewing last season rookie QB class. If you've been with us for a while, I think it was in episode, I'm going to go 15. I'll check on that later and see if I was right. But we talked about Tua, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and we're going to be reviewing how they ended the season. We also talked about Jalen Hurts, and I think we sprinkled in a little bit of Ben DiNucci. So we're going to review that class. And so if you're just learning about us and you want to know what we said, make sure to go check out then. I can probably say we roasted the Bengals for their own line. I would give you an outsider's opinions guarantee on that. But and then also check out our interview we just finished with Cy Mendenhall, who great rugby player and just committed to St. Bonaventure, which is 26th in Division 1A. So make sure to check that out. And thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.